The Great Race Place back at it at Santa Anita Park starting on Friday. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon. Some of you might see it beforehand, some after. But we're going to focus a little bit on Saturday and just the whole meet in general, talking about that. We're going to talk about the featured Goodwood, but there's a lot of stakes action and some real good wagering opportunities and promotions all weekend long at Xpressbet and FirstBet. And then we'll talk a little bit about the older handicap horses. We know Sovereignty, or not just the older ones, the handicap division, the classic division. We know Sovereignty and journalism and fierceness and Sierra Leone. They're the head of the class. But the next tier, they're looking to make their impression, and they're also looking to get into the Breeders' Cup Classic or put in a good run before shipping out west. We'll talk about it next on Horse Sense.
Welcome back to another episode of Horse Sense. As always, I'm Bailey Armour, joined alongside professional fly fisher Scott Shapiro this week. And it's a big one this week. It is finally Santa Anita opening weekend starting tomorrow, September 26th, which is also my brother's birthday. So happy birthday to my brother if you are watching, Trent. Shout out to him. It is opening day at Santa Anita, and what a great weekend this is going to be. This is my first weekend in a couple years not being out at Santa Anita for this weekend, with the Women's Summit and some other big races having moved around. So I'm definitely missing the atmosphere and everyone out there, but we get the pleasure of talking about it for the next half hour or so with all of you. So, very excited to tell you about the promotions that we've got. Of course, all eyes on Santa Anita this weekend. Tomorrow is going to be a set of two $2,500, hit and splits on the late pick
Tomorrow's when?
four.
Friday, right?
Tomorrow, yes, as we're filming this on Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, as you can see on the bottom of your screen there, the full details when I don't make them sound so weird. $2,500 hit and splits on the late pick 4 and the late pick 5. And then Saturday is the big one with a $10,000 exactathon. So for the player or players who hit at least 5 exactas on the card on Saturday at Santa Anita, they will win their share of $7,500 in bonus cash from Xpressbet and FirstBet. And then if you hit the most overall exactas on the card, you'll win your share of an extra $2,500. And then we keep it rolling into Sunday with a new kind of tiered bet and get bonus that we haven't really done in a while. So essentially how it works is the more that you wager on Santa Anita, the bigger bonus that you'll earn. And you can see all of the details for that promotion on its promotion page on xpressbet.com/promotions. Basically, $100 gets you a $10 bonus, $250 gets you a $20 bonus, and then $500 or more gets you a $40 bonus. So plenty of ways to earn lots of extra bonus cash in your account this weekend at Santa Anita. And I will end my spiel there.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I actually heard about the exactathon and have a blog up already on that. And yeah, Friday should be a lot of fun with those hit and splits. Big tournament on Saturday and Sunday. The big opening weekend challenge at Santa Anita, $4,000 up for grabs. Ooh. NHC seats, BC seats. Those are the coveted ones. No disrespect NHC, but those BCBCs, I know the guys and gals choose that first. And more stuff called cash on the line as well. So big tournament. I believe there's a couple of final qualifiers depending on when you're watching this to try to get in there for less than the buy-in. But I wish everybody well and good luck in those tournaments. And excited for my spaces this week. We're going to talk mostly Santa Anita, but we're going to talk Aqueduct, Belmont at Aqueduct, as well as Churchill. Mm-hmm. So lots of stakes action around the country as we, talked about Breeders' Cup implications all around. Well, you obviously know by now, unless you skip through the intros, that Santa Anita is opening this weekend. Friday is opening day. We've got the hit and split, as Bailey mentioned. We've got Saturday is the big stakes card. There's stakes races on all cards, but Saturday, the biggest of the cards, which we're going to talk through a little bit here. And then Sunday, we've got the another really good card, and we've got the tiered promotions. But let's talk a little bit about Santa Anita in general this meet, Bailey, before we dive into, some quick conversation about some of the stakes action and a little more in the Goodwood. But first off, the normal action is back at Santa Anita, the normal wagers that you come to expect. And the $2 pick 6, of course, is back. The coast-to-coast pick 5, which you've been accustomed to between Gulfstream and Santa Anita, is back. But now a new wager that features the sister tracks, the first tracks, Santa Anita and Gulfstream. It's called the Sunset Pick Six. I like this wager, 15% takeout, dollar minimum wager, and it's the last 3 races. Each day they run Gulfstream and Santa Anita. So if they both run, there's a Sunset Six. And that means the last 3 at Gulfstream and the last 3 at Santa Anita. So actually, really looking forward to this wager. You know, some of the new wagers I sometimes want to see before I dive into, but I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. I always really like when different tracks and, you know, leaderships and things are putting out new wagers. There we go, for us horse players. And a dollar minimum pick six is definitely on the friendlier side of those things, especially now that we know that it's going to be the same 3 racers, same total 6 races, but 3 from each track every week. It gives you maybe a little bit more lead time to handicap some things and really structure your ticket around that, especially if you're trying to find maybe a lower bankroll ticket. Like personally, I would. I know that I don't play a ton of pick sixes on my own just because, frankly, I just don't think they're necessarily in my wheelhouse. Playing with sometimes a smaller bankroll where something like a pick 4 feels a little bit more approachable for me. But with this dollar minimum, you can kind of really move things around and find some more value with the Gulfstream races added into this. So I'll be interested to see what the first couple payoffs are looking like and how I can jump into that pool.
Last thing mentioned on that, retail players only. So that's the maybe the headline of it all. I think
Definitely
people have come to expect a $1 denomination to times and 15% takeout, which is always good. But yeah, retail only. So no CAWs in those pools. Let's go through just a couple of the stakes action on that Saturday card, which is the biggest card. Again, we have the Exactathon. Bailey went through the details. You know where to check those out on the promotions page or on the tab on the app. And I have a blog up on that, as I mentioned. But the City of Hope Mile is the first of the graded stakes races, grade 2, 200,000. And Bailey, you know, it kind of comes down to the return of Johannes. Awesome last year, not awesome in the 4-star Dave last time off the bench, shipping out to New York for trainer Tim Yakteen, but 7 for 7 over this course.
Definitely, he's got the horse for course angle. I know that we've talked about it earlier this year, but I have some bias for the outside horse, Cabo Spirit here, who was entered in the John Henry last year and now makes his move over to the City of Hope Mile on the same weekend. We won that race at a massive price of 26 to 1.
And gave them to you.
And he was in our big ticket that we had, which was like my best day of racing payouts ever. So if I see Cabo Spirit going up against him, I'm going to go Cabo Spirit every time. And it doesn't hurt that you're going to get some better value there.
Yeah, I like Final Boss here to try to beat Johannes. My opinion with Johannes is I don't have full trust in that he's the same horse as he once was. And that was a very poor performance. I know it didn't go well early in the race, but he did very little running, little bit of time off. So at the price, I definitely will side against Johannes as well. Race 5, I did want to bring up. You may or may not have looked at this, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. This is a maiden special for 2-year-olds. It kicks off the aforementioned pick 6, but I just wanted to folks to take a look at the one horse's pedigree. Did you take a look at that one? The Spendthrift.
Oh, wow. Out of Monomoy Girl, the one and only in the barn of one Mr. Bob Baffert. Talk about racing royalty. And Providence, what a great name for a horse with a pedigree like that.
Just weird, though. 1 to 2, not surprising. 5-horse field, but Bob debuting a horse that at 1 mile, odd.
You don't see that.
Not for his top. Well, he's got a horse we'll talk about, excuse me, in the Goodwood later, but he debuted at 1-2 turns, but that was a later, you know, a 3-year-old starting off a little late. Very odd. This is a horse I'm going to try to beat. I don't have a lot of confidence in anybody else in the field, but he's going to get absolutely hammered. And now cutting back and on the rail, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, if he fires to his pedigree, he's going to roll, but thought that was worth mentioning. You mentioned the John Henry, Bailey, and man, that was a good horse. I was barely alive. I know maybe you do even know who he is or don't, but he won a lot of races and in close fashion. He truly was a horse that had a nose for the wire. 1.25 miles on the turf. No Cabo Spirit this year. Gold Phoenix, though. 4 straight Del Mar handicaps. But can we count on him to run that same race in succession and on this turf course?
I feel like he has a difficult time putting things like putting things together back to back like this. But it's hard for me to come off of Gold Phoenix. I mean, I really like this horse and I like seeing him run. This 7-year-old who just kind of lays it down race after race, but maybe not race after race, literally, in that they're back-to-back winning performances. So it'll be tough for him, but how can you pick against him?
Well, I mean, the price makes it tough. I picked him, quote unquote, but I wouldn't single him. I think both the 2 and the 3 are the intriguing ones because there's not a ton of speed. Balladeer, the blinkers go back on the cutback. You get Antonio Fresu. Maybe Papa Padromo wires him out again at a price in this race. Or Spycatcher, who 2 for 13 with 6 seconds I don't love, but I do think he's getting better and better. And this is a horse that was placed, I think as a maiden in graded stakes races. So some intriguing options there to take on Gold Phoenix. Stay Hot will probably be the second choice. He was no match for Gold. Just kidding. He got beat by the Gold Phoenix in a blanket finish. Race 8 is the Eddie D. That's the next stakes race up on the agenda. And it's race 8, grade 2, the Eddie De La Houssaye, my original famous rider, not Ed DeRosa, by the way. Eddie D. What an all-time great rider. Rode my favorite horse of all time, AP Indy, amongst many other quality animals. A Cajun. Eddie De La Houssaye gets the grade 2 down the hill. Reef Runner will try to make up for a pretty tough DQ last out, I thought. But, man, this horse loves it at 5 furlongs down on the turf. But, Bailey, I've watched a lot of races down the hill. Maybe you have as well. And this is a totally different game going 5 panels versus going down the hill 6.5 furlongs. So turf sprints are not all the same. And I know you might know that.
No, turf sprints are definitely my jam, but the downhill turf course at Santa Anita plays differently, like you said, than anything else. I feel like I'm immediately drawn to Reef Runner on the rail, like you mentioned, but do we know with the jockey change now? I don't know that I've seen an updated rider come out. Have you?
Either. No,
Not yet. I'm curious to see who they will name on that one, especially with this course, just because it plays so differently. So maybe depending on who gets the mount there, that's probably what I'll take another look at. What about you?
That's an interesting thing. If we're at Florida, if we're in Pennsylvania or Monmouth, Paco being on would impact the price. I don't anticipate that happening at all out in California. I think people might respect Paco. Paco obviously won't be riding for a while, is why Bailey mentioned it. I like a couple horses in here. I give 4 Sorrento Sky a big look, getting back to the downhill course after 2 5 furlong races on the turf. And then I like number 8 First Piece the most. I like horses that have that tactical speed on the outside, not 5 furlong types, but ones that should have foundation. And when you're drawn to the outside, it is an advantage, generally speaking, down the hill. So love the hillside turf course. And I like First Piece here over Sorrento Sky. We've got 2 stakes races left to talk about. We'll talk about the Goodwood. The John C. Harris. Do you have a strong opinion in there? I know it's a turf race. It's the finale. Did you have any thoughts in there? But before we dive into the Goodwood,
nothing great outside of I like warming. But this is cutting back in distance, Graham Motion shipping. I can see how we would count against them, but do you have any more creative opinions than I do?
I don't love the post, but Graham does. Graham knows the types of horses that do well out in the West Coast. He has a lot more success out there than most trainers that ship out west. To me, though, I like Innovative on the turn back. The daughter of complexity, Little Red Feather, Phil D'Amato. I just think this is a filly that relaxed nice last time, proved she didn't need the lead, and now she cuts back. So I'll try Innovative in there. But the Goodwood is the feature. It's a grade 1. You may be confused a little. The name has changed a couple of times, but it was the California Crown last year. But it's still the same race, 9 furlongs, grade 1. It's 300,000 up for grabs. And it's a feature race, Bailey. And, I think a lot of the money is going to be bet on a pair of horses, First Mission and Full Serrano. Are these the 2 that you're attracted to, or either of them, or where you at?
No, I'm gonna zig here when others may zag, or maybe it's the other way, however that saying goes. But I did want to get maybe talk a little bit about Full Serrano with you here for a second before I talk about the horse that I actually do like. I mean, he's 2-1, so clearly plenty of people will like him. And like you said, he's going to take a lot of money here. But this is a horse that kind of, maybe his training pattern puzzles me a little bit. He had that huge upset in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year, right? And then took some time off, clearly came back in good form and won last out by like 7. But I don't know. I feel like my gut instinct is to not trust him after missing that 6 months of training. But do you think that maybe I'm overlooking like the recent star power basically just because of those 6 months off? How would you
Well, I
see
mean,
it?
I think it's a fair question, and as we've talked about before and talked about off camera, I think the point of asking those types of questions when it's short prices is much more important than when they're bigger prices. If a horse is 6-1 to win a race, 10-1 to win a
Yeah.
race, it doesn't. You're gambling obviously in a much different way when this horse is going to be less than 2-1, in my opinion, but somewhere in that vicinity between even money and 2-1. And if you have any questions, you probably don't want to bet on them.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't have the same question, although I thought about it because he's gotten back into training and been doing it so well. Obviously, he runs a huge race. They probably, 2 huge races in a row, kind of not out of nowhere, but a little bit. So it makes a lot of sense that they would give him time. That much time is a little bit odd, but it seemed to me, based on his last, that he's doing well. I think he's going to be very tough in here. What about you,
Yeah.
though? Where else do you side? Or, I mean, you can tell me I'm wrong too.
No, I went way on the inside of the gate here with the number 2 Ultimate Gamble, somewhat of a price horse, and Ultimate Gamble is a great name for it, especially when you're putting him against these shorter ones. The Mark Glatt horse, there we go. Like we talked about, I think it was last week about those Briz late pace figures and the Briz figures. So took a look at those at this week. I like his running style. I like his Briz numbers, and I was very impressed with his performance in the Pacific Classic last out behind those crazy freaks of nature, fierceness, and journalism. And he had, I mean, for a horse that is not necessarily like a big late kick horse, he had a very impressive late run there. It's not like he was going to catch fierceness and journalism, but like there was plenty of daylight between him and the 4th place horse. So hopefully he can run back to that. And at his morning line odds, and then come the price on Saturday, I'm willing to take an ultimate gamble, if you will.
Well, I love it. Well, the price should be pretty good. I mean, the pedigree says yes. They spent 1.75 million for this horse. He's bred on both sides to have no issue with 9 furlongs. Obviously, it hasn't gone the way they had hoped thus far, but he's going to be a big price. He was 71-1 last time, and in my opinion, the Pacific Classic was someone had to be third, but like you said, I mean, it was 3 back to 4th, and that field was way better. I mean, it was, or the top 2 or fierceness and
Right.
journalism would be 1-9 in this race, right? Or no, I mean, maybe not with Full Serrano and First Mission, but you get the point. So
Yeah.
I get it with him. First Mission to me, did you have any thoughts on him? Or?
I was very impressed with his late pace numbers, but just tried to look for slightly more value, which I always do at Santa Anita. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and it is what it is. But I mean, I could not talk you off of him if you asked me to.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to ask you to talk me off him because I'm off him already. This is a horse that
That's
I
convenient.
had a future on him in the Preakness. He scratched before it,
Throwback.
8-1, and then he really let me down in the Stephen Foster. I know it was 2 better horses than he faces here, but he had no fight. That was supposed to be his day, in my opinion, at least to be more competitive. And then he loses at 1-5. Feels a little bit odd shipping out here away from Kentucky for this spot. I don't know. To me, I'm going to attack this race in the exactathon. Full Serrano, sorry, Bailey, with Nevada Beach and Privman and Ultimate Gamble would be the 3 horses I would consider using with. But if you're going to use Full Serrano or First Mission, you probably want to use somebody different from the other spot, unless you're just looking to pick up one of your 5 check marks. And if so, you probably don't want to do a whole lot of spreading.
One of your 5 check marks. The last thing I'll say before we wrap and jump to our next segment there, since you mentioned the 2 Baffert horses, I crossed those both off of my list after watching their most recent workout on First TV. Those are all free, just an Xpressbet First Bet account will get you in to see those. Seeing the 2 of them compared against each other, Privman and Nevada Beach. Nevada Beach looks like such a larger horse, but I don't like the way that he runs. He runs very upright. Privman stretches out a little bit more because his neck is tied in lower, and I think he gets better ground coverage that way and doesn't have to work as hard against himself. So just a couple quick notes from a horseman's perspective. If you want to go watch those and look for what I saw, you can see those on First TV.
Well, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this wonderful program, the Classic Division, the top of the board, Sovereignty and Fierceness, Sierra Leone, Journalism, Forever Young. They're not racing. Forever Young's going to race again, but they're not racing again until the Breeders' Cup Classic. But there's that next tier of horses. Some may go, some may opt for a lighter spot, but this is that division. It's that Classic Division, and there's a couple of big races, both at 1 mile and 1/8. Both grade 2s, both on Saturday afternoon. You got the Woodward, which historically, has been a fantastic race, but falling on hard times a little bit. There's a chance. We're recording this, as we said, on Thursday afternoon, and the more than a rumor is that this is going to be scratched down to 3 with Willie D's, I know, running in the Lukas Classic, which we'll talk about in a moment, and then some other ones potentially running down in the Mid-Atlantic. But it seems like we're going to get post time. It seems like we're going to get Phileas Fogg, and it seems like we're going to get locked. I don't even know if I have a strong opinion in here, Bailey. Do you have any thoughts? I know probably post time. You know all 3 of them very well, but post time.
Yeah, I'm close personal friends with all 3 of those horses, clearly. I don't have a strong opinion in that one. I think that Post Time is probably one of the most rank horses in the morning that I have seen train. I just don't know that he can quite get that together in the afternoons. I would probably go locked in there. I don't have a strong opinion, though, truthfully. What about you?
Well, I think Phileas Fogg might be the horse in the best form now, and a 3-horse field. It's a rider's race, but being on the lead might not be a bad thing. I still think Post Time might be better at 1 turn, and they really want to give this horse a shot in these 2-turn biggest races. But not a lot to discuss there or wager on. I would say, probably single, not probably. I would definitely single in there if you play the pick 4, or looking at the wagers that are available in that race. Pick 4, though, definitely want a single. Whether you like any of those 3, you don't want to go too deep in a 3-horse affair. None of them are going to be 1 to 9 or anything like that. But Lukas Classic, Bailey, a little bit more intriguing. Same kind of level of horse, but we should get 7 in the gate for this one. As I mentioned, Willie D's was cross-entered for the Woodward, but I'm hearing going to run in the Lukas Classic. You've got Prince of Power as a likely other speed horse along with Willie D's. And then, the bigger names in the field, you got Mystic Dan, last year's Derby winner, and his stablemate Rattle and Roll. You got the Dubai World Cup winner, Hit Show. And you got the Warrior, Banishing. And then you got a closer in Disarm. So I just felt like I gave everybody some love there. I'm in a loving mood.
Thank God.
But what do you think here in the Lukas Classic in terms of just when you handicap the race and look at it at first?
Looking at this
at second.
Not at first. What if this was the very first time that I had ever seen it before? Thank God it's not. But I am picking a horse that we have seen more than 1 times, and a horse that some of us know, some of us might love. It is, of course, the number 2, Hit Show. I will say, though, no horse has won this race more than once. And, of course, he won it last year. So he would be the first one to win it 2 times in his racing career. Brad Cox having won it twice before, targeting this one purposefully. Really liked his run at Mountaineer in the West Virginia Governor's Stakes. But was it maybe hard for him to beat them in that race? He was only leading by a head there. I don't know if you saw it the same way I do.
Not This Boy was the favorite in that race. He's a good horse. He's not necessarily accomplished like Banishing or, but he's a good horse. He's a good horse. Look how far back it was the 3rd.
Right. No, exactly. That is a very good point. And thank you for saying that. I think that he's very game. I think that he tries hard, and I think that they pick his spots pretty intentionally. Obviously, he and Florent go so well together. So I don't really have much to knock against him here, but I'm open to if you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is what he is. They gave him time off. He ran hard to get there with not this boy who was a horse that a lot of people liked and you thought was going to be a clear second choice and ended up going off as the favorite in
I
there.
know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hit Show, is a little race shape dependent, in that he
I can see
probably
that.
will need Willie D's and Prince of Power to go at it a little bit. But
Which I assume they will, right?
I can see Willie D's being happy to sit second, or Prince of Power probably has to go. I could also see Manny Esquivel playing, being outside Louis Saez and Louis just taking it to him right out of the gate and then backing off, and not wanting to duel. So I think
Yeah.
the pace of the race is pretty up for grabs. I could see a number of things happening, but he's an honest horse. Like you said, he's won 10 or 20 races, and Brad spots him, like you said, in the right spots. He gives them kind of, that one shot a year, a couple shots at the biggest of big races. Tried
Yeah.
it in the Foster. He was outclassed and outrun. And now, this is a realistic spot. For me,
Realistic.
well,
I
I mean,
like that.
he was 11-1 in that race in a 6-horse field. It was up.
No, exactly. Like the realistic is a good way to describe this, though. No, I do like that.
I just think Banishing is, maybe he's not as good as he was. Well, he is. He's just so honest, tries so hard, likes all distances. He gets Tyler. 5 weeks rest for this horse. He's fresh as can be. But yeah,
Like
so if
kicking
I'm
down the
betting
stall
this
walls
race,
at this point.
I'll throw it to, people, I'll throw it to you to see where you're thinking if you were going to bet this race, and we can talk about it for a moment. But to me, I like Banishing and Willie D's from the wagering perspective. I think Willie D's has a shot to run really well here. He's coming into the race in best form, and I think Banishing, one of these days he won't fire, but I don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be this day. Bebek loved Willie D's in the pace cast race there, so definitely one worth taking another look. And I'm going to have to go back and take another look at him now that knowing your thoughts. I'm going to stick to what I know here in the Exacta yard and go Hit Show
That's
over
on,
Disarm.
right? Oh,
Yeah,
wrong track.
yeah.
Exactathon's
Unfortunately, the Exactathon is at Santa Anita, but that doesn't mean you can't play Exactas elsewhere while you're chasing those your 5 check boxes, I think, as you said earlier in the show. First time I rad for Disarm, I am willing to take a chance underneath Hit Show in the Exacta here. So that's my cold 2/4 Exacta in this one.
2/6. 2/6.
2/6.
No, but I like it because what
Not
you're
4,
doing
but
is you're
2/4.
playing for the race to have a fast pace and fall apart a little, right? You got 2 closes.
Yeah.
So it's not as if you're asking Hit Show to close and Disarm to be the speed. And that can work out. Sometimes a closer goes and gets a lone speed horse. But generally speaking, one closer comes with a big run. You're likely to get another one into the number. So that's not gonna be too bad. The morning lines weren't up when I last checked. Let's see if they're up before
I got them right now. Who are you looking for?
I'm looking for those 2 horses.
Banishing or my 2 horses or your horses? Whose horses do you want?
I want to know your horses, but
Disarm
Hit Show
is 4 to
7-2 and Disarm
Hit Show
4-1.
7-2.
Wow. I thought Disarm, I guess Disarm has been facing better company. I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, not the price I expected. But we'll see. Maybe he will be come 5:30 Saturday afternoon. Do you think 5:30 is afternoon or evening?
5:30 is, I would say early. I would say evening, but it's
early evening, right?
It's afternoon, really. 6 p.m.
But I think afternoon ends at like 5 p.m. 4:59 is the end.
Yeah,
of
it's close. 5:30 is close. I think either one's acceptable.
Okay, sorry, we digress. Give me your final wager here.
My final wager is a win bet on Banishing if he is over. What's his morning line? 3-1, right? If he's 3-1, I'll bet him to win. If not, I will play him with Willie D's. But if Willie D's price is significantly better, like it looks like it might be, meaning Banishing gets bet, Willie D's doesn't, he would be my alternative. So I'm price sensitive in the Lukas Classic between Willie D's and Banishing.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of Horse Sense this week, talking about the big bad opening weekend at Santa Anita starting tomorrow as we film this on Thursday, September 26th. And then a couple picks in the Lukas Classic at Churchill on Saturday afternoon or evening, depending on how you look at your times there. But make sure you're playing in all of those Santa Anita promotions this weekend. That $5,000 total hit and split on Friday, the $10,000 exactathon on Saturday. And we've got a new tiered bet and get offer, like Scott mentioned, on Sunday, where the more you wager, the more of a bonus you'll earn. Let us know in the comments who your picks are in any of these big stakes races, who you're going to take in the Lukas Classic, and if you think 5:30 is afternoon or evening, because I'm very curious about that one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Horse Sense.